What's up, guys? It's Bolt, and I'm back with another Remnant 2 build guide. And in this video, we're going to go over my Crystal Warrior melee build. I know it's been quite a long time since I've done a melee build, and I said, you know what? Let's do one with the brand new Crystal Staff, and it instantly became one of my favorite melee weapons in the game. It's very versatile. Lot of fun, looks awesome, has a lot going for it. Man, let's just get right into it. First up, we have the INVOKER slotted in first. We have that for the Prime Perk Visionary. We're going to get double charges, and we're pairing that up with the way of Quayla, which is going to give us the haste ability and give us some passive shock damage. This build is centered around shock damage, as the Crystal Staff does do shock damage, so this paired up beautifully with this weapon. And on top of that, the haste is going to give us faster attack speed, which is what we need here to get those energy orbs out faster, those melee orbs, the melee attack swings out faster for more DPS. Really good to have. This thing is great for mobbing as well. And when you have one boss, the single target damage from the lightning just does crazy damage. So very good skill to have. Next up, we have the Challenger slotted in second. And this one we're going with Juggernaut. This is going to give us a little bit of everything. Movement speed, melee speed, reduced stamina, increased melee damage. And yes, the orbs from Crystal Staff do also count as melee damage as well as elemental damage. So that's why INVOKER, who boosts elemental damage, is going to boost that up. And then Challenger boosts both up. So they go hand in hand very well with the Crystal Staff. Really amazing skill to have for melee builds. And then we also get the Bulwark and the Stagger Resist. So this is great all around for this build. A newcomer, rather, I should say, is Shock Device. Hardly ever see these slotted in on builds, but they got a buff. And yes, you could use other necklaces, but I really wanted to just boost up the overload damage a little bit. This build does focus on the Crystal Staff. The other sources of damage from this build are secondary, so I kind of wanted to boost the Crystal Staff up as much as I can, but you could absolutely use other amulets with great results. You know, Matriarch's Insignia will be great. Cost of Betrayal, Stone Shaper's Chisel, Necklace of Supremacy, Butcher's Fetish, all stuff like that. Butcher's Fetish will be a little bit more difficult to use because you only got 5 seconds after the charged attack, and we're not really doing too many charged melee attacks with this build. Every so often we do just to get the special effect off. So I went with the Shock Device just to get the overloaded boost on there because we do. I'm just going to go straight into the weapon and we'll come back to the rings. We do have the Shocker Mutator on the Crystal Staff. So we're getting like double freaking overloads on there, man. You see the crazy burst damage that this thing does when the Shocker procs and when the Power Stone procs the overloaded effect. Oh my god, the freaking health bar deletes. So we're getting the double overloaded effect and we're boosting that up by 50% with the Shock Device. Crystal Staff is such a great weapon. So basically, you charge your weapon, you shoot out your orbs. You have 10 seconds of that special ability, and then once you get your 10 stacks, you do the charge melee attack to release the crazy blast of energy, and that's going to apply the overload. So big time damage with that, especially stacked with Shocker Mutator. You guys see in the video how much damage this thing actually did. Then after that, we're stacking flat damage additive bonuses because this is not a crit build. We're focusing on the elemental aspect of it. So Burden of the Destroyer, which is going to boost all of our damage. We have Burden of the Destroyer is going to boost our mod damage as well as the melee hits, the elemental hits, the overloads, a little bit of everything. So really good to have just to round out the build a little bit better. Burden of the Departed, which is going to increase all our damage by 10% as well. Reduces our relic charges, but that's fine. We don't really need them on this build. We have 6, which is more than enough. The Grounding Stone, which I hardly ever use as well, but hey, I wanted to really focus on the shock portion and the overload portion of this build. You could slot something else that boosts up all damage as well if you want. Alumni Ring will be a decent choice as well, but I really wanted to get the shock damage up as much as I can, and this is 15% extra increase in damage. And then, last but not least, this beast of a ring. Man, this is one of the best rings in the game for melee builds, and it's probably going to go on all of my melee builds. It's such a fun ring to have, probably one of my favorite rings in the game, Sealed Resin Loop, and it lets you melee cancel at any time. So this is a DPS increase without directly increasing your DPS. So you could swing like a madman and not even have to worry if an enemy attack is incoming. You could instantly dodge out of it and cancel out of your melee weapon. Whereas if you did not have this ring, you would be stuck in animation and you will be getting slapped around by these enemies, taking lots of damage, where this, you don't have to worry about it. Such an underrated ring. I saw a lot of people talking crap about it, like on Discord and Reddit. Maybe they don't know how to use it. Maybe they think it should be a feature in the game itself, even without the ring. I disagree. I think this is very strong. I know some games do have melee cancels and some do not. This game does not have a melee cancel inherently, so you have to use this ring. It's very strong in this game, as you can see in this video, where I'm swinging away and I am able to dodge out of harm's way, and I have to worry about being stuck in an animation. Very strong ring. On the weapons, I'm sick of guys. I'm sick of them too. I know what you're gonna say. Monolith, a Nebula. Yes, I know. They're just so damn strong, and they go perfectly on builds that are not ranged specific, or you just need passive damage, or they go great specifically on melee builds too, because we're not shooting our guns, so we just need something that we could fire and forget and not have to worry about anything. At the same time, they apply a debuff, which is going to strengthen everything else on our build. So it's like a no-brainer to not use these weapons, and they probably need a nerf because they're going on every build. They're just too strong. They're the best choice. Either that or buff up all the other mods. Like, I don't know what else to say. But for Monolith, we have Failsafe, and on the Nebula, we have the Feedback. If you don't want to use these for Nebula, I recommend using the Flying Bomb Trap, which is nice too because we're going to be on top of the enemy. We could just throw the bomb trap in front of us, and the enemies are going to be right on top of us. It'll set the bomb off, blow up, boom, you got corroded right there. And then if you don't want to use Monolith, you can use something like any weapon that you want with the Ring of Spears, and I would put something like Pressure Point on there. Ring of Spears is great on melee builds as well, as it does have a melee tag and a mod tag on it, so double dips in melee and mod damage, so it'll be great on melee builds, and it does pretty damn good damage. This is an elemental focus build, so I went with more elemental style stuff, but if it was just pure melee, I would use Ring of Spears, I'm sorry. And also, I find that Sandstorm does obscure the vision a lot. So in this build where you have to dodge a lot with Sealed Resin Loop, that obstruction of your vision may hinder your ability to dodge the enemy attacks. So I do recommend using Ring of Spears if you're having difficulty seeing with Sandstorm. So just keep that in mind. But the 15% extra damage you get from the Exposed debuff is very valuable. Went over the Crystal Staff already to start the show. So this is a Crystal Warrior, so we're going to use the Crystal Heart. This relic goes very good with this build because we're not sprinting, we're not moving around. We're actually just being stationary and utilizing our dodges. So when we use this relic, we get the passive heal over time, and we get a 25% reduction in damage. So sometimes maybe you might mistime a dodge or something during your attacks, and the extra damage reduction from the Crystal Heart and from the Juggernaut skill will come in handy. And we will be able to heal passively throughout while we're still being able to be nimble and being able to dodge. Again, we're not sprinting. This does not affect our dodge speed, and we are utilizing Ambit Ember, which is going to increase our dodge speed. And yeah, so we're basically unaffected by the Crystal Heart. We're using the elemental damage on there to boost up our shock damage further and our mods. Mythic melee damage because we just want flat damage boost. We're not going crit. And melee attack speed, just because we want to get those orbs out there faster, and we want to be able to use our charge melee attack faster as well. As for the armor, you guys, I recommend using something much more tankier than I am. I like to be cool looking, and I think this armor set right here fits the Crystal Staff quite well. It is the Zealot's Hat, the Labyrinth Mantle, the Fey Royal Greaves, and the Fey Royal Vambraces. So, again, if you guys want to be more efficient than I am, use something tankier. I just like looking cool, and this is what I'm using. As for the concoctions that I can recommend, I just use the egg drink so I could be at a light roll for faster dodges, faster evades. And, again, I recommend using the Ambit Ember for even faster evades, and it also gives you more iframes. And I also recommend using Rocket Fuel so it can give you faster melee attack speed. And the last consumable I recommend using is the Ghoul Serum. That will take care of any of your stamina problems. But this build uses mostly light attacks, so you do not have to worry about stamina that much. Onto the traits, we have Gifted and Strong back as the respective archetype traits. Potency, because we will be utilizing consumables on this build. We want to keep them out there longer. Untouchable. That is going to give us more iframes. Very, very important on this build. I recommend that you do not take this off this build. Flashcaster, just to get our mods out there and our skills out there quicker. Freaking Way of Quayla takes an eternity to cast, so I have it for that. Vigor, for obvious reasons. Spirit and Arcane Strike, just to charge up our mods a lot more quicker. Our build does generate a lot of mod power now because we have the Arcane Strike. We're doing mostly melee attacks, or all melee attacks basically. This is a melee build. Chakra to keep the mods out there longer, and then the last 7 points are up to you to put wherever you want. I put in Recovery just for a little bit of stamina, just in case. I'm running low on it during the course of the fight. But these last 7 points could be placed in wherever you want with no really any drawbacks. So again, all my builds you could allocate the trait points to your liking, to your playstyle. But this is what I've used to great efficiency. But that sums up the build. I really enjoy this build. This was a lot of fun. Man, I love using stuff that I hardly ever use. Could you probably min-max this a little bit better? Yeah, you probably can. You could probably use, like I said, like something like Necklace of Supremacy or Matriarch's Insignia. You could probably replace some of these additive stuff, or maybe something you could maybe crit stack or something. But this build is very focused on the shock portion of it, and we are taking this build against enemies who are highly weak to shock. And as you can see, the freaking health bar is delete. All of the fights that I chose in here, the enemies were weak to shock. I think, with the exception of Huntress. So if you want to not capitalize on the shock, you could probably go a crit route versus enemies who aren't weak to shock and be successful with that. But really enjoy this build, man. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section below. If you're a nice person, you enjoyed this information, and you found this video informative, please consider giving it a like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not done so already, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.